Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 72. What happened to me? I totally lost track there of a Fern between us.
Hi again. It's been a couple episodes. We are two of the four owners of Vivoc Winery. I'm Jesse.
I'm Michelle. And yay, here we are together again.
Hey, cheers.
All right, so today's episode is actually about going back and talking about some of the things that maybe we glossed over or weren't clear about, or, maybe we got it wrong even. So we've gotten some feedback.
Here and there.
Yeah.
We always do. It's good.
Which is awesome.
We appreciate it, actually.
Yes, please do. We want to hear from you. And if something's confusing or something, then maybe we need another episode about that, right?
Right. No, I think corrections, episode here and there, or a segment, here and there. It's a good thing because, we gloss over stuff. We oversimplify. Everything's complex.
Yes. Yeah, we're trying to shoot for a half hour. And it's impossible to get everything in there.
We never get it in a half hour.
All right, so let's start off with what is it that we're drinking. We dug out a Petit Verdot from the library. We only have a few bottles of this incredibly beautiful wine. So it's been a while since we've tasted it. Jesse, what do you think of the 2019 Petit Verdot?
I'm digging on it. We always sell out of this one way too fast. We don't have enough of it, which is part of why we're planting another 1,000 next year.
Oh, yes.
We just ordered them yesterday, actually. You don't even know about that.
No, I usually don't know about most things that are going on at the winery, as it turns out.
But I'm totally stoked to see this is aging really nicely. The floral components are even more exaggerated than I remember. Like it's really kind of
talk about violets.
I know, right? Is that's what you got too?
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm just like, I can't believe how flowery it's become. I don't know. I like it.
I love it. I'm so thrilled. And the reason why we are tasting this tonight is because we are about to go on an extravagant vacation, which we have talked about previously, but it includes Berlin with a competition, 3 months in Bali. I know, you hate us. We know.
It's fair.
And then 2 weeks in Strasbourg. One of the things that we haven't shared with you is that 2 weeks is going to include a incredible event at the American Consulate's home there in Strasbourg, that I'm going to host a New Mexico wine soiree. And so I've been...
It's really random, I know.
I know, right? But her and I totally hit it off the last time I was in Strasbourg. She really wants to encourage the dignitaries that she's friends with that do travel to the United States on a regular basis to have a new region to explore wine. So why not New Mexico, right? The oldest region wine growing in the United States. It's very exciting. And so I had to be very, very judicious with what I picked. And I did pick this wine. We just wanted to retaste it. And I am thrilled. I am totally thrilled.
So this is what we're going to take then?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And you've got wines from all over New Mexico that we're going to take over there, leave in Berlin. When we fly back to Berlin, we'll pick up our wines from New Mexico and go down to this
yes, a good friend is going to hold them for us at her apartment in Berlin. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
I know. Thank you, Elizabeth. All right, so that's why we're drinking this, and it is amazing. I cannot...
I'm stoked.
Oh, man.
I'm really stoked that this is held up.
Your wine's just aged so impeccably. But
it always makes you nervous anyway. Like,
of course.
It makes me nervous.
As a winemaker, I'm sure.
It's horrible.
But anyway, okay, so we got a bunch of questions. So let's jump into The first one, which has been a lively debate among some of the local winemakers. Thank you, Josh, for bringing this to our attention. I did mention it on a previous episode that we have not really given oak its day in the sunshine.
Right, on the show, you mean? Yeah.
Yes.
So we, winemakers, we all have strong opinions about exactly like what the right way to go is for our particular situation and for what we're trying to achieve. And so when I'm talking on the show, I'm always, when I'm thinking about it, I mean, I know that there's amazing wines being made with all kinds of different oaks, and some of them are heavy oak, some of them are light oak, some are no oak, some of them are, and this is a conversation amongst wine judges. It's a conversation amongst everybody because it's a matter of opinion. That's all it is. And so often so what I was called to task for on was saying that
because our big hard oak episode got a lot of attention.
Right. So I said for us at Vivac Winery, we feel like New Mexico grapes really shine when it's a slightly lighter body style, and therefore for our particular winemaking, we like French oak. And I wholeheartedly believe that, and we've never used anything but I've experimented here and there, but not like for production.
But it also did kind of sound like you meant for the whole state.
Exactly.
That is the best option.
And I know, like, out of these wines that we're bringing to Strasbourg for this party this summer, we're bringing, we wasn't taking submissions. You were kind of handpicking. But
I was.
You were picking,
which doesn't mean that those of you that I didn't pick for this won't be picked for something else. I keep having these amazing opportunities. You will get your chance.
Right. But so you contacted a handful of people and said, I want to have some of this kind of situation, and so we're taking some of those wines over there.
Well,
some of those winemakers,
so that those people in Strasbourg
can see the range of New Mexico and stuff.
Go ahead.
So some of those winemakers, I feel like, especially after tasting through a bunch of these, because I tasted with
benefits
you.
of being with me.
You make all the decisions and you know what you're looking for, but I enjoy the side benefits. But a couple of those winemakers, they're like, I would split it down the middle. Half and half are kind of like making a bigger wine style out of New Mexico grapes. All these were New Mexico grape wines only. And the other ones are making wines more in our style. And I've enjoyed all of them, and I think everyone's doing a great job. And some of those do have non-French oak. They're working towards a bigger, bolder wine. On the other hand, I also think that I do honestly believe that we'll never be like Napa Valley level of extraction because we just don't have the hang time here in New Mexico.
Well, and that's something I want to also address too, because while a winemaker might be looking to really have a bigger, bolder style wine, what we were talking about on the oak episode was more of those store big brand, big production.
And we were
California.
painting with broad brushes during that. Yeah.
And those are heavy extraction with a lot of residual sugar. They need a lot of oak to balance it. We are just trying to bring people to the idea of a little bit more caressed, a little bit more delicate kind of wine. And you do get there, even if, you're starting with some of these gigantic wines. The conversation that we're having with winemakers now in New Mexico is, yes, there is the opportunity to have big, bold, dense wines, but they are still never going to be those iconic... they're huge.
In southern New Mexico, we get a lot of hang time on our grapes, which, really solidifies the true... Like, it makes it just such a big, bold...
Fruitiness or
everything, right? The complexity is impeccable when it's sitting on the vine from late February all the way into October, and we're gonna be always April through September, so we're missing out on a couple months compared to some other regions. The depth of complexity, the depth is still there, but I feel like if we're going for a bigger wine style, you start losing some of that, and that's generally where Chris and I have come up to what we're doing, but there's great wines being made in a fuller style and with different kinds of oak. And I want to say, those of us using barrels, that's always going to be better.
Yes.
And there's those of us using barrels in both camps. And so when whoever's using barrels is on the right track.
Yeah, regardless of where you get the oak.
Regardless of the style you're trying to make.
The integrity of using actual oak barrels instead of cutting corners is kind of what you're after, right?
Yep.
The other thing is that we have talked about different types of oak during different episodes. Of course, it's really hard to go over all of it again every time. But during the Tempranillo tasting, we tasted a plethora of wines, and I think it was 3. So maybe it's not plethora. But we talked about but we did talk about American oak because that's the tradition in Rioja. Of course, that's changing. We did talk about during our Sangiovese and Chianti tasting, we talked about Hungarian oak, and each time we have talked about the benefits of those oaks. So thank you for the correction. We didn't go into that during the big hard oak segment.
And this here won't have covered everything either, but
no. So we might have to revisit a big hard oak segment, but I'm glad that we have had this amazing conversation and that it's getting people excited to talk about this,
Exactly.
All right, so the next question is, what is the wine style of New Mexico wines?
You can't say exactly because we're all of different camps. And that's true in any wine region, wine growing region. But I would say a characteristic that you find, that I've found you see in most, I would say, well-made wines in New Mexico is like a little bit of a dusty thing and a little bit of a spicy thing.
I would call that dusty thing adobe.
Green chili and adobe.
Yes. And if you don't know what that is, it's because you need to come visit us, and then you will leave being like,
red or green chili and adobe, I should say.
So I think what this question is actually kind of getting at is that, there's different areas. Like you think of, that area is known for Riesling. That area is known for, you think Argentina, you think Malbec. There's certain things that conjure a, and so I think what they meant instead of wine style. I think they're thinking, is there like a
100% Tempranillo is New Mexico's grape. I think Tempranillo.
Why do you think that?
Because I've seen winemakers of all different stripes here in New Mexico produce a really good Tempranillo. I can't say that too much for most of the other grapes. I feel like the Tempranillo through and through is not that we, some of us can't mess up a Tempranillo here and there. We do, for sure. But
there's some
I've seen
congruency.
It seems like it does well with all different winemakers in many different parts of the state, and I feel like we could be banking on, maybe we should bank on Tempranillo as our future.
That would be an easy one to market, right? Because of our history and how the grapes came here and all of that. My marketing brain is like going nuts with what we could do with it and love that. I also feel that Merlot, even though it's not the fancy grape to want to choose for, a lot of
that was
reasons,
popping in my mind too,
is I have loved everyone's Merlot for 20-something years.
Yep.
I mean, when we were first getting started, you could taste a Merlot congruently through the wine festivals, and you would
Yeah.
like everybody's different style. It still showed varietal correctness and really highlighted the winemaker.
Yeah.
So I love that about it, and so
But it's hard
I have
to be
a hard time not
hard to market yourself as the Merlot place because there's so many Merlot places,
There's
right?
also so many places that people just don't like Merlot quite yet. It's become now
Quite
a
yet
cult
again.
thing. Yeah, quite yet again. And so I do think that would be more of a challenge, but
Yeah.
all right. Well, hopefully that kind of got into your question. If not, we'll have an episode on it. All right. Next is, can you talk about why a winery would choose to use screw caps and why you specifically choose corks? So this is a big debate in the wine world, the
Yes.
screw cap or not.
Yes, this one's so hard.
Is it hard, baby?
Is
it hard?
Yes. No, all right. So screw caps are
Useful.
and better in so many ways. That you don't get a corked bottle of wine. You don't get.
But you can if you got.
can.
I mean, now we're learning about how you can get corkedness TCA.
Cork
How you
tank.
can get TCA in your winery without even corks. So that's
Of course, but
interesting.
that's a whole batch at a time, and you know it when you put it on the market at that point as the winery. But basically, you don't get 1 in 20 bottles or whatever it is that have some amount of corkedness. They're hermetically sealed more, so you don't have it doesn't feel as alive, which sucks. But
well, it's not.
in some ways,
It's not getting.
it's fresher for a while, and
Yeah.
then after a few years,
It's not aging in the bottle
feels
because you're
weird.
not getting
Yeah.
any. These are porous elements. That the idea is that it is very, very slightly aging within the bottle because it's cork and it allows the tiniest amount of oxygen to help it actually become something different. Which is why when you first open a young wine, it's very bolder fruit and lively, and then it switches to more raisined fruit, and that's a really wonderful thing to see. That's what I'm tasting right now, is that transition.
Yeah.
And you don't get that with a screw cap.
Yeah, and I don't know how to, I don't know. They're kind of screw cap costs a lot less. I don't know. For me, it's such a mixed bag. I want to go screw cap so bad, but I don't think I ever will. The
You are a screw cap.
The opening of the cork is just such a thing.
Well, there's a romance of the wine and the wine bottle and the presentation and the opening.
Yeah.
That is a big part of wine romance, period. But I do think that another important part to talk about is that cork forests are being cut down at an alarming rate so that they can, these areas can plant something more lucrative because people are turning away from cork. Cork is from a live tree. It's cutting the outside, not cutting the tree down.
It's a habitat for a lot of native species.
Yes.
I mean, even though it's an orchard,
really
which
important.
is inherently not a native situation, there's lots of native species that benefit from these cork forests.
Because they've been around for so long.
Exactly.
So there is a debate also, what is more environmentally friendly?
Right.
And keeping trees, which you guys know, you buy a bottle, we plant a tree, we're kind of into the trees.
We are into the trees.
Some people might call us tree huggers, right?
I'm just trying to I don't want my life negatively impacting the future. So I'm trying to, that's my whole goal.
Yeah.
I don't know, but and I love nature in all the ways. So I
Well, and 98%
there are no
of the wines,
right answers, but we're trying.
Yeah, you got to make an opinion and go for it. That's part of our show too, by the way. So the other thing is that you're looking at 98% of the world's wines are meant to be drank right away.
Yeah.
So within the first 2 years of the vintage date, so the date that's on the bottle. So
they'll
Of
probably
course, it makes sense to have a screw cap and let's go, and it's going to be fresh and young.
Yep.
But if you're making wines that are meant to be aged,
Yeah.
you need a cork. And when you get over into Europe and some of, like in Hungary, do you remember the corks were huge?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So fascinating, and
cool.
what those choices are. And that also reminds me, some of our travels, that debate of oak and what kind of oak and whether or not you like oak. There are so many winemakers in so many different areas that really believe, you need this gargantuan, it's like the size of our room, our house, that is neutral, because they don't want any oak influence other than the micro-oxidation. And then you get people that are, babying these small casks so that they can put part in a amphora and then part in these cool barrels, and then they mix them together. I mean,
across the board, it's all different.
It's so artistic.
Over there, over here, there's laws. There's laws in a lot of places, a lot of regions, saying you have to do between this range of a certain thing. You can do 6 to 12 months in X amount of new French oak, blah, 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 or whatever in this region. So it's I mean,
it's a fascinating thing that
at
you
least
can
over here,
really get crazy about.
At least over here, we can do whatever we want, and which allows all of us to make tons of mistakes. And so we do.
Yeah. All right. So the last question for today is, I like the grocery store cheap fruity wines, and find that small wineries make wines that are hard for me to enjoy, but you guys talk trash about the cheap stuff. Am I wrong to like these? And love this. I love this question.
This is amazing. This is great. Yeah. All right. So, the big wineries, the biggest wineries, the ones that have figured out how to reach the most people, are the ones making the wines that most people want to drink. Go figure, right? But they end up being the least expensive because they're the most mass market, and they're shooting for all of our initial palates. The whole world of
American drinkers specifically.
American drinkers are I mean, we're new to wine. We're all just discovering it here in the last 40 years, let's call it. Our parents had a box of red and white in the fridge, right? Remember the tap?
Unless
whatever.
Your grandparents had actually just moved over and they're making actual wine in the basement.
Or in their bathtub, literally.
Yeah, you might actually have had
they called
something
it things like
different.
Dago Red or whatever.
Yes. Some of us have grandparents who were talking about that.
Right. Yeah, so it was either you came from the old world and you were literally, your grandpa made wine, grandma maybe, or your family never drank wine and somebody discovered it sometime, either your parents 40 years ago or you guys now are finding this, and they make the entry level price point is for the entry level wine drinker, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. You should be drinking that.
We want you to drink wine no matter what.
Exactly.
So that's a big part of
it.
this.
If you splurge on the occasional bottle of us, that's awesome. But I understand. I understand completely. It's like that for anybody getting into something, and you never have to move on from that if you don't want to. But if you get curious about new versions of this and that, if that's how your mind works, follow that if you want to and can afford to, and
also
all that stuff.
Clearly you're watching our show, so you must have some interest in where is this going?
Yeah.
And I think I was just having a conversation with one of our staff members who's just gotten a promotion. She's doing an amazing job. Ashley, love you. But we were discussing that nuance between what you find at the grocery store. Those, I was explaining the big fruity, heavily they're sweet, they're bolder. There's nothing on our list that's going to compete to. I'm going to go ahead and say it, Michael and David wines. They are huge. So that Seven Deadly Zins, that kind of, there's a huge grouping of those wines. And congratulations to them. They're making a gazillion dollars. They should. People love them.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that this is a very different style of wine.
Yeah.
And if you aren't really being drawn into ours, the biggest thing is to make sure to have our wines with food, because it's an actual chemical process. So when you are tasting a wine that has high acid and then you taste something super salty, they cancel each other out. So you actually get more fruitiness in the wine, and you get more creaminess and richness from the food itself.
Exactly.
So, you were talking about Tempranillo. So our Tempranillo, for example, you taste it on your own. If it's too intense for you, then try it with a slice of salami.
Yeah.
Like your mind's gonna be blown. It's so amazing, that combination. And also you're gonna think that that's the best salami you've ever had.
Right? Right?
The best salami I've ever had.
Oh, man. What are you going to do?
But I think that that's an important thing, and so you're probably not going to want to jump into some of the old world regions. You're going to want to really be careful as your palate changes, and it will change.
It changes with age, whether you're trying to or not, but it also, and changes with your experiences. So, if you get introduced to a new food, you're going to everything changes, and you're going to want to try different things to drink a little bit. And, to me, I go with that. The reason you're drinking wine in the first place may be because you've had a change, and, maybe you were always beer, or maybe always vodka, or whatever it was. And then one day you had a glass of wine that you're like, dang, I don't remember liking this when I was 19, but now it's kind of hitting, and that's just the way, I don't know, that's just the way it goes. And then maybe you become somebody that seeks it out, or maybe not. And either way, you're not wrong. Go with your bad self,
Yes. And another component, because we really do just want you drinking wine because it's natural evolution that eventually you will like our wine. We're indoctrinating you very slowly. No, I mean, that really is the evolution of all wine drinkers, and people don't realize you start with the bold, sweet reds, and then you move slowly into slightly drier. Then you go through a white wine phase where you're like, oh my God, I've discovered white wine and I don't want to drink anything else.
Yep.
And then you move back to lighter, dry red wines. And then you go back and you do real dry, acidic white wines. And then you come back and you start exploring, the late harvest Rieslings and the ports,
back to sweet.
and all of a sudden you're digging on these weird, sweet, eclectic wines.
It's pretty cool. And each phase for me has lasted 2 years.
Yeah.
And so I've been through all the little things where I'm like, that's my favorite stuff, right this second. And it's weird. I don't know. Or you stick with the one and it's awesome.
Yeah, you just enjoy it all the
Right?
time. And, the other thing is that there's
we've all had a grandpa, or, if you're our age, you've had a grandpa that just drank Carlo Rossi for his whole life. And it was amazing. And he loved it. And he felt like, I'm a real Italian because I'm drinking Carlo Rossi all my life.
Even if it's been open for a month in the fridge.
Every few days I have another glass,
Like, wow, instead of apple vinegar, you're doing that?
I say good on you either way.
I totally agree. And so we are all about do it. And here's a wonderful tip for if you want to go, just splurge at the grocery store on these big, bold, crazy wines. Make sure that you are looking at the little card that hangs off of there, and you choose the wines so the top part shows what the normal retail price is. Then it shows if you have a Smith's card, you can get it at this price. But if you buy 6, you can get it at this other price. The other price is really, really important to pay attention to. You should never go to the grocery store and not buy 6 wines. I know that sounds insane, but it is the absolute most economical. And that includes your cans or your splits or your boxes. They keep all of that as one thing. So buy a box of wine, buy a split for when, you know, you're feeling dazzling and want to treat yourself in the bathtub with some sparkling wine and, you know, mix it up. But that is huge.
Yeah.
The number between the retail price and that 6 bottle price can be as much as $10 difference.
Yeah.
That's how I buy wine at the grocery store.
It is. That's how you do it.
That's how I do it. I'm cheap. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Please write in if we missed something on this episode or if there's something that you would like us to correct in the next episode. We will be leaving on Monday.
Monday. Yo. Yeehaw.
So you'll be getting lots of interesting check-ins from us.
Yeah, we're going to it's going to be a hodgepodge over the next few months of what we post, when we post it, how we post it.
We will post something for you every Thursday.
We're not promising that they're all going to be live, though.
Correct.
I don't even know if any of them will be live. We'll see. We're trying to figure out.
We're going to
have
be
to get
15
there really.
hours ahead.
Yeah,
maybe
we're all
if we're
different.
Feeling like.
And then there's daylight savings time, so that week will be weird, and then, you know. And then maybe there's a different one over there, so that week will be weird too. And we don't know what's going to happen, but we'll post something every time.
And maybe we'll get Chris and Lily to host sometime. I'm going to
pressure
try
'em.
out lots of stuff. Yeah, write in. Say, I want to see Chris and Lily. I want to see Chris and Lily. They're going to love me for that one.
Anyway.
All right, I think that's it for us today.
Cool. Cheers, you guys.
Oh, you guys. Thank you for keeping with us.